From Donald Trump, let's look at another president who's facing arguably one of the biggest crises of his tenure, and I'm talking about the French president Emmanuel Macron. A nationwide indefinite strike is the challenge. The French police deployed tear gas on protesters and black blocs as pensions reform protest in Paris turned rowdy. More than 180,000 union members took to the streets in a nationwide protest across France, as you can see. The demonstrations taking place in some 30 French cities are part of a massive public sector strike involving railway workers, teachers and emergency room medics, among others. Rail workers, air traffic controllers, teachers and public sector staff have staged walkouts and taken to the streets against proposed changes to the pension system in France. Hundreds of thousands of French workers have come out on the streets through Paris and other cities on the first day of an indefinite national strike. The protesters have disrupted almost all public transports, posing the biggest challenge to President Emmanuel Macron since the Gilets jaunes demonstrations began a year ago. The rail services have been curtailed across France along with the Paris metro and bus networks. According to the State Rail Group, about 1 in 10 trains were running on suburban and high-speed lines, while international services such as Eurostar have also been affected. Flights are also being hit by industrial action at Air France and by some air traffic controllers. The Eiffel Tower has been closed to the public on the first day of a nationwide strike over pension reforms. The strike has wiped out 90% of high-speed trains, 80% of interregional trains and 10 of Paris's metro lines. The strike in protest at pension reforms proposed by French President Emmanuel Macron could be extended by rail and bus employees as well. So what is the proposed pension reform? Let's break it down for you. The French president's new plan aims to reward employees on a day-to-day basis. The points earned every day will be later transferred into future pension benefits. The official retirement age has been raised in the last decade from 60 to 62. Meanwhile, those retiring before 64 would receive a lower pension. For instance, if someone retiring at 63 would receive 5% less. The cost of France's current system in terms of pension spending as a percentage of GDP is among the highest in the world at 14%, whereas UK is spending less than half of that. In other news stories, ride-hailing firm Uber Technologies has now released its safety report for the year of 2019 in US, and the number of sexual assault cases remains to be an alarming high. The app cab received over 3,000 reports of sexual assault in the year 2018, when it operated roughly 1.3 billion rides in the United States. This in 5 major categories of serious sexual offense, including rape, molestation, roping and touching women inappropriately. Sexual assault and other threats have been a concern broadly for the fast-growing ride services industry around the world. Now, the report comes as Uber is under pressure from regulations and regulators in many cities, including London, which recently cancelled the company's license to carry passengers over a pattern of failures and safety and security. Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, in a series of tweets, said that by publishing the 84-page report, the company showed its commitment to transparency with the goal of driving accountability and improve safety. Now let's take a look at what the Uber safety report has to reveal. According to the data published, over 3,000 sexual assault cases against women have been reported in the US, which marks a 16% drop in the rate of incidents from 2017. Based on the survey, nearly 44% of women have been a victim of sexual abuse during Uber trips at least once in a lifetime. This means that nearly 52 million women live with the abusive experience. However, riders in fact accounted for roughly half of the accused parties in cases of sexual assault. Uber also said that 99.9% of all of its 2.3 billion trips in 2017 and 2018 ended without any safety incidents. The safety report also says that in 2018, over 36,000 people have been killed in car crashes. In 2017, nearly 2,000 have been victims of homicide. Surprisingly, the report also reflects that drivers often were victims, despite generally being cast as aggressors in most media reports.